Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri Appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. I've said before that every time you go into court and you get on a witness stand, everybody is watching everything, and everything that you do, as well as everything that you say, sends a message. Let's look at some of that today in the context of the Rudolph murder trial. Now, it's quite normal when you are called upon to testify at a trial, particularly for somebody that is close to you, that you love. It's very normal for you to be nervous. In fact, it would be sort of abnormal for you not to be nervous when you're testifying in trial. And I want you to watch here how the attorney tries to put her at ease by talking about the reasons that she got a security system for her house.
My husband was working.
You got to talk in the mic. It's hard to hear you.
My husband, Darrell Sr., was working, and he had got shot, they said, accidentally at his workplace.
All right. After that, did that kind of change how you felt about security?
Yes, I was so, just for safety, I just went and secured my whole house with 9 cameras, and one I had a door ring bell, so I had 10 in all.
And did your husband's death affect you?
Yes, it did.
Are you able to sleep even today?
No, I haven't.
Now, had I been the prosecutor there, I think I might have started to object to some of the leading questions, but it was interesting to me how he talked about her husband's death as a way of getting her into the reason why they had the security system. Now let's watch how she talks about how she knew the security system was actually recording on the night in question.
You could see pretty much all angles outside?
Yes.
And this is the night owl cameras?
Yes.
How did you record those cameras, or did you believe you were recording them?
They was being recorded. I called the night owl because one time I had a problem, and with the night owl, you actually monitor your own cameras, and the gentleman told me as long as I had it on red, it's being recorded. So at the present time, I'm for sure that they was being recorded because it was on red.
Now, Travis Rudolph's case revolves around a claim of self-defense, and there are certain elements to self-defense, and under Florida's stand your ground law, some of them are certainly applicable in this case, although the court found that he was not going to be given immunity up front because he didn't feel that the claim met the parameters of stand your ground. But that is not going to stop the defense attorney here from trying to nail down all of those elements so that he can make a proper record for any appellate court to later come back should there be a conviction. So let's watch him set the stage here for why it was that Travis Rudolph might have been aware of a threat that was made and the fact that somebody was perhaps coming to do him violence. And we get this testimony through his mom. So it's fairly powerful testimony, I think, because although clearly she favors her son in this case, she doesn't really have a reason to lie, and there's obviously some documentary background on this in terms of the text message. So let's watch.
We had Bible study. Immediately after Bible study, we was watching a movie, and then I got a call for Dominique. She was very hostile and irate, and she said, "Ma, you better come get your son Travis, because I'm gonna have my brothers and his friends to come and kill him." But I didn't think that she was gonna put a hit on him. The phone dropped, or she hung up the phone, so I had text her.
Let me slow you down. When you get that call from her, do you have any idea what was going on?
No, because she was screaming and hollering, and I couldn't really understand her, but that's when I text her.
Okay. Did you try calling her back?
No, I didn't call her. I just text her.
What'd you text her?
I said, "Dominique, I don't know what's going on with you and Travis." I said, "But you both are grown." I say, "If you all not getting along, you need to move on." I say, "I love you like my own daughter. I don't teach my son to be disrespectful. I say, I will talk to Travis and I will let you calm down and I will call you later. And then she texts me back and say, he has the wrong one. That's all I'm going to say.
He has the wrong one.
Yes.
How were you feeling when you heard all these threats and he has the wrong one?
Actually, I didn't know what to think because I never thought that she would actually put a hit on my son, and I didn't know she was married.
So, what do we get out of that marvelous bit of testimony? First of all, we understand that Mrs. Rudolph here is a Christian, a Bible believing person, somebody who went to Bible study, but who is unfortunately also familiar with a few of the rather ugly 4-letter words that are in use sometimes by people who shouldn't be using them in the first place. But at any rate, we know that she testified truthfully to what she heard. And so she not only gets in the fact that there's a threat, but also twice that Dominique, the girlfriend, essentially put out a hit on Travis Rudolph. That she knew that, according to the conversation, that they were coming over to do violence to her son and ostensibly pass that on to him. I think the defense has done an excellent job of pulling out some of the elements with regard to the stand your ground law. There were threats. He had a reason to be fearful. He had a reason to be in fear of his life. He had a reason to take steps to protect himself, i.e., go get the firearm. And in addition to that, there were people who were clearly the first aggressors who were coming to do violence. And as a result of that, I think that the defense has done a marvelous job here of getting that information in front of the jury. I want to go back a few days to the time when one of the people who was shot at testified about what happened. And it's important to note that the prosecution's theory is that the people who were shot did not display a gun, but you have to realize that the people who were shot were the losing victims in a gunfight. And as a result of that, even though they didn't get off a shot, they did produce a gun. And once you produce a gun and point it at somebody, it's on. They don't have to fire a shot. You don't have to wait to be shot first in order to shoot back. And that would be unreasonable. So watch how the defense attorney here unwinds this issue of what he could see and what he could not see, because it's done very effectively, I think.
Finish?
Yep.
Isn't it true when you were asked by whatever lawyer, so after you sucker punched this guy, why'd you stop? And your answer was, because I knew he was going in his house to get a gun. Isn't that true what you said?
Correct.
Right? So you knew he was getting a gun.
That's
Sustained.
Those are two completely different questions. You said, did I see him with the gun?
All right, stop. Wait for the next question.
You're right about that, and I'll correct that. So you stopped fighting because you knew he was just about to come out with a gun.
Exactly.
Okay. And you knew after what just happened, it's going to get dangerous because y'all went there with guns and somebody threatened. Well, let me ask you this. Did you see Tyler point a gun during the fight against Mr. Rudolph, Travis Rudolph, the gentleman here today? Did you see Tyler point a gun at him during this fight?
No, I never saw that.
Were you in the fight with Mr. Rudolph exclusively, or were you back and forth fighting both the brothers?
It was back and forth, fighting both.
Would you agree there was 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 at any given time during the main fight when it first started?
I would disagree. I believe it was 2-on-1 the entire time.
Right? And when you get back to the Cadillac, you never saw Tyler in the Cadillac before you left. Isn't that true, sir?
Correct.
And Tyler could have been standing outside the car pointing a gun at the Rudolph brothers, and you don't know if he did or didn't because you couldn't see what he was doing, right?
He could have done that. I did not see. I wasn't there.
A couple of things here. First of all, this thing, and this thing here, you're always telling a story. When you're on the stand, you're telling a story. And sometimes Your body is telling a different story than the story that you're telling with your mouth. And I think there may be some of that going on here. You notice how he's down like this, and then he goes up to the microphone, answers, and then he comes back down. Goes up to the microphone, and then he comes back down. And every time he's doing that, he's letting the question linger, and he's using the time to come back up to think about his answer. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about the answer, but it has the ring of inauthenticity to it. It's not an authentic kind of thing. If you'd been involved in a gunfight and you'd been shot at and you thought it was unfair, you'd be up there, paying attention, looking up, looking at that jury and telling them, I was shot at and I didn't appreciate it. But instead, what he's doing is he's just kind of laissez-faire going through this like, it's another day at the office, when it's very clearly not. You're talking about a man's life here. And as we'll see in a moment, much of his affect is discordant from what he says. Let's take a look at that now.
I had a cut on my face, going down my face from his brother trying to scrape my eyes out.
All right, so you're pointing to your right eye, right?
Correct.
And how long or where was the scrape exactly? So I'm clear.
It was from the corner of my eye down to like right here. It was just a cut. It wasn't nothing too crazy though.
Pointing from the bridge of your nose on your right eye, coming down.
Around my cheekbone area.
How many inches would you say?
I would say like 3, maybe 2 or 3.
Clearly visible, right?
Clearly visible.
You'd have to be almost blind not to see it if someone was standing next to you, right?
Correct.
Did you show that to the police?
Did I show it to them? No, because it was nighttime and I didn't even know I had it till the next day.
So was it visible that night or it didn't come out until the next day?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a mirror after SB died. I saw it when I woke up the next morning.
Police had lots of flashlights out there, didn't they?
I'm sure they did, but I didn't know I had it on my face.
All right. Did the detective ever say, hey, can I get a picture of that?
No, they didn't.
And when you saw it the next day, did you bother calling the police and saying, hey, check this out, this just came out, this is what happened to me?
No, I did not. Because I was devastated by the death that happened the day before.
But when you're at the hospital, you went to the hospital, right?
Correct.
Plenty of police officers there, right?
Correct.
Tell any of them.
I was still devastated and not worried about a cut on my face.
Sure.
Sorry. Maybe this guy did lose a friend and maybe he really was just, upset about it. But he's talking about it here as if he's discussing what he had for dinner last night. He doesn't come across as devastated. And he doesn't even say that in a way that rings true. Maybe he was, maybe he just doesn't know how to communicate. But the bottom line is, if I'm on that jury and I'm listening to this, I have a feeling that maybe there's another reason why he's telling this story the way that he's telling it. And you have to remember that although prosecutors have discretion, one of the things that matters a lot in a self-defense case is who was the initial aggressor. And the initial aggressor here were these men who got into a car and went over to the house with the intent to harm Travis Rudolph. And as a result of that, there is, at least with respect to the people who were there to do violence, a potential that they could be liable for felony murder because they went over there to do violence and one of their party got killed. Under the felony murder rule, they could be potential defendants. Now, if you've got a weak case as a prosecutor, one of the things that you do is you tell witnesses the testimony that they are going to give, and as much as you can tell them what they have to say, so to speak, as long as it's the truth. Now, you can't tell them the lie, but as much as it's the truth, it doesn't have to come across as authentic. And this guy has sort of the look of somebody who is testifying under a grant of immunity and basically a threat of prosecution. That's what it looks like to me. That's my opinion. I don't know that, and I could be completely wrong. But this guy comes off to me inauthentic in major ways. Now, I want you to watch how he squirms and kind of moves around during the period of time when the attorney is pulling his notes out. And he plays with his hair. All of these are self soothing behaviors and may indicate that he is a lot more nervous up there than he would be if he was up there. He was upset, he'd been shot at, and he was telling his story. Just think about that in terms of why this is a self defense case. Now we get to see a good bit of impeachment of a witness here that almost goes off track because the questions are just a little bit different. But the defense attorney does a good job of pulling this in and establishing, among other things, that the gentleman had absolutely no opportunity to see whether or not a gun was being pointed at the Travis brothers, or Travis and his brother.
When Mr. Rudolph comes out of the home with the firearm, now you see him with the gun, right?
Wrong. I never saw him with a gun.
Okay, so it's your testimony you stopped beating up my client's brother, Daryl or DJ. Why?
Because I wanted to leave.
And if you wanted to leave, why did you go over and give him a sucker punch?
Because not everybody was at the car, and I was helping Sebastian.
Okay, so you didn't see Mr. Rudolph come out of the house with the gun, is what you're telling us.
Correct.
Finish?
Yep.
Isn't it true when you were asked by whatever lawyer? So after you sucker punched this guy, why did you stop? And your answer was because I knew he was going in his house to get a gun. Isn't that true what you said?
Correct.
Right? So you knew he was getting a gun.
Sustained.
Those are two completely different questions. You said, did I see him with the gun?
All right, stop. Wait for the next question.
You're right about that, and I'll correct that. So you stopped fighting because you knew he was just about to come out with a gun.
Exactly.
Okay. And you knew after what just happened, it's going to get dangerous because y'all went there with guns and somebody threatened. Well, let me ask you this. Did you see Tyler point a gun during the fight against Mr. Rudolph, Travis Rudolph, the gentleman here today? Did you see Tyler point a gun at him during this fight?
No, I never saw that.
Were you in the fight with Mr. Rudolph exclusively, or were you back and forth fighting both the brothers?
It was back and forth, fighting both.
Would you agree there was 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 at any given time during the main fight when it first started?
I would disagree. I believe it was 2-on-1 the entire time.
Right? And when you get back to the Cadillac, you never saw Tyler in the Cadillac before you left. Isn't that true, sir?
Correct.
And Tyler could have been standing outside the car pointing a gun at the Rudolph brothers, and you don't know if he did or didn't because you couldn't see what he was doing, right?
He could have done that. I did not see. I wasn't there.
I really thought that whatever good he may have done for the prosecution here, he probably was more of a help to the defense, because it's very clear he doesn't want to be there. It's very clear that he's telling a story that is clearly not the entire story, and that is stilted in a way as to make him look good and his other co-conspirators look good, and not to have actually any real impact on on Travis Rudolph. So that's what I have for you today. Just a little bit of analysis. I have some more video that I want to bring in, particularly Travis's testimony, which we'll get to tomorrow. And it's probably going to be late tomorrow because I've got some things going on, but I will definitely get those in. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have the opportunity today, go out of your way and do something nice for someone. And I will catch you down here at the beach next time. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.